or caretakers whose patients who are supposedly at death's door are discharged alive. According to our analysis, 72 of the 89 registered hospices in 𝗪𝗓𝗡 Plaza have at least 3 of those potential warning signs.
This isn't possible. It made no sense because I know what a licensed and certified hospice looks like.
We weren't the first ones to come to this building. Federal inspection records show that regulators visited multiple suites in 𝗪𝗡 Plaza between 2021 and 2025, and they found nearly 400 violations. At one, a nurse wrote that a patient's family was satisfied with the care, but inspectors found no one from the hospice ever even visited that patient. At another, the patient's chart listed medications for malaria and diabetes, but the patient told inspectors he wasn't taking either one. And at that same company, a hospice social worker wrote about a family's grief when their loved one had passed, but there is no evidence the patient was actually dead. These hospices have been billing Medicare for reimbursement with your tax dollars for years.
Why are we still seeing such rampant signs of this? Why hasn't more been done?
We're committed to tackling the issue until we root it out and extinguish all fraud.
So who's working to fix this? Well, the state attorney general is the one responsible for investigating the industry here in California.
California is always going to have the biggest numbers. We're the biggest state. We're the 4th largest economy in the world. We have the most people of any state. And but this issue is unacceptable, and we need to keep tackling it and do more.
We're also following the money here. Medicare is federally administered. It's your federal tax dollars going to these hospices. So we sat down with Dr. 𝗵𝗏𝗧𝗏, who heads the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Is this accelerating the enforcement, the shutting down of these hospices?
We have dramatically accelerated our ability to take out the bad guys by stopping their payments. And that's the big mindset shift. I want to make it clear, we're not going to pay you money just because you sent me a piece of paper with a bill on it. We're going to check to make sure that's legitimate and that document is evidence that you actually performed something that's helpful to the American people, or you're not getting money from us.
When we went back to 𝗪𝗓𝗡 Plaza, we found the building.
And here's my thing. That's basic compliance. Basic. You did the service. Okay. You submitted it for payment. Like, hey, we provided the service. But before you get it, there should be some verification. But the reason why they've been able to get away with this stuff is because they know nobody verifies it. They know there's no auditing. There's no compliance here. Again, my question goes back to how long has this been going on?
Building's owner, Kambiz Marabi.
I have vacancies. Tenant would come in as long as they're legit. Yeah. They have valid things that we need. Mm-hmm. I rent. I'm not a police or keeper of what they do, how they do business.
So from your perspective, they're licensed. That's obviously the first sort of barometer of measuring whether
Correct.
It's a legit business or not.
Absolutely. And look, maybe state and the federal government, it's becoming restrict on many businesses, and I'm all for it, because at the end of the day, you and I are paying for all those things that are not right.
Marabi wouldn't let us walk the halls on our own to talk with hospice employees, but told us this about any possible fraud.
If you learn of hospices in your building that are accused of fraud,
I would immediately
you would get rid of them.
terminate.
Okay.
Yes.
But that hasn't happened yet.
No, no one has ever come to me tell me that, okay, this or that is doing fraud.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you. It doesn't work that way. And I hear what he's saying, because he's just the landlord, basically. He's just supplying, the office space for these people. It is not his job, actually, to be involved. But just like the gentleman in Minnesota, he was like, yeah, I noticed that a lot of people were opening up these different types of services in mass. And so I definitely made sure to check on them, because some of the services weren't even operating. There was nobody there. There was a name on the door, but nobody was actually there. So, you know, everybody wants to point the finger. Nobody wants to take responsibility. This is a mess. What I need is for all the money to shut off. Because you know what? If nobody gets paid, because this is federal, okay? Not state, federal. If nobody gets paid, a hit dog is going to holler, okay? And they're going to wonder where their money is at because they've submitted for the money. Stop pushing the button. Stop giving them the money. Have everybody recertify and then let it fall out from there. Those are just a few things you can do. Those are just like easy administrative things to me. And it boggles my mind. It's like, who do we have in Washington and why do we trust you with anything? Like, this is a complete dereliction of duty at every level. I don't really blame the states. I blame the federal government for not doing better due diligence to make sure that our monies are spent properly at the federal level. Do your job. That's all. That's all we want. We just want you to do your job. And with that, I wanted to check out another thing that I looked up. Now, this might be a little bit outside of the conversation, but I wanted to bring it up because it's just one of those things. Look, it's just something else, you guys. Does it fall necessarily under compliance? No, it doesn't. But it's a kind of one of those, this needs to change too, right? So I wanted 𝗪𝗏 to outline bots used recently that have affected online popularity. Okay, so you know how there'll be some different accounts. We'll use X, for example, and they get more likes and clicks. And it's like, what is going on? Well, apparently, recent social media bots, primarily on platforms like X, formerly known as Twitter, Facebook, and Threads, have evolved from simple automated accounts to sophisticated AI-enhanced networks. These tools artificially inflate engagement metrics like likes, shares, views, retweets, and trends to boost perceived online popularity, create false consensus, right? Astroturfing, and amplify specific narratives and influence public discourse or voter sentiment. They don't always change minds directly, but make content or candidates appear more widely supported than they are organically known as, right? So this is another form, in my opinion, of the Smith Modernization Act. It's propaganda, but now it's just electronic. So the AI-driven bot networks on X, networks of dozens of accounts, some verified, using hashtags like hashtag Trump 2020, argued with themselves or made crude errors, central node accounts amplified content to followers. Many were suspended quickly by X, limiting real-world impact, but they aim to boost visibility and engagement for Trump-aligned posts. Yeah. So coordinated inauthentic account networks behaving like bots. Now, this happened in the 2024 election. Real person-run groups posting identical or near identical content at scale using coordinated hashtags and maintaining unnatural follower-following ratios, a 1-to-1. So pro-democratic hashtag Blue Crew, 951 accounts posted nearly 2 million times between July and October of 2024, heavily amplifying conspiracies like the Trump assassination attempt was staged. One post viewed 2.7 million times and reposted 10,000 times, or false claims about the House Speaker, Mike Johnson. Pro-Republican, at least 437 accounts posted 1.1 million times in the same period, driving narratives like Haitian migrants in Ohio eating pets. These networks were primary drivers of content volume for viral falsehoods, inflating their reach and perceived grassroots support. So social bots in midterm campaigns, Ohio 2022, automated accounts amplified candidates' messages, especially negative tone, shaped the agenda on issues like civil liberties, energy security, environment, and the election itself, and transferred salience to campaigns more than to the press or public. Emerging AI bot swarms. So they have all of these different chatbots, AI chatbots. So overall, impact on online popularity. These tools create an illusion of broad support by flooding platforms, trending topics, and inflating metrics. They polarize discourse, boost negative sentiment, and make narratives, true or false, seem organic and urgent. So platforms suspend many, but the speed and scale, millions of posts, billions of potential views, distort perceptions of candidate strength or issue importance ahead of elections. And we are in a midterm election right now. So we need to watch out for a lot of these things going on. That's why I wanted to bring this to you guys, because I was like, are there any disclaimers required in the post so the general public knows that these are bots, right? Because I think that would make sense. Just a very simple line. You know how they have them, and I'm annoyed by them, but the community notes, they're on X. They're just making sure, well, you know, we don't think that this is truthful, and I don't care what you think. You know, if it's authentic, it's authentic. But now I've got a battle with you, and you're trying to be like the thought police, right? But what I'm asking here is, if it's a bot, right, and it's not a human, there should be a disclaimer. I want to say with TikTok, they have something like that. And also on YouTube, if something has been generated by AI, you have to disclose that, right? So no, there are no broad nationwide legal requirements in the United States mandating that social media bots or AI operated accounts include disclaimers in their individual posts stating they are bots or automated. So they're just running around looking like real people. And there's no disclaimer. And that's because they haven't been pressed on it. But I think we should be pressing on this. We should be pressing. I don't know if it would have to be on Congress to do something like this, because it would go back to consumer driven, right? Because we are consuming the information. So Congress could do that. No, I don't like bigger government, but I want people to be safe. And the general public should be informed, and people should not be taken advantage of. So it says, however, the landscape includes some limited disclosures, platform specific rules, and emergency state level obligations, mostly focused on specific contexts like chatbots, AI generated media, deepfakes and elections, or deceptive interactions, rather than requiring every bot post to carry this is a bot label. I want that. If it's a bot, it should have that, because people should know. They should absolutely know if it's a bot or not. So, yeah, that's my soapbox. Let me see, did I ask another question? Let me check. I said, in this instance of the current administration and past administrations, are tax dollars being used for this? That's the other question. The good part is no, tax dollars have not been used in the Trump administration or in the past administrations to fund social media bots aimed at artificially boosting online popularity or influencing domestic partisan political narratives based on available records. And that's a good thing, right? But we still need to make sure that we're holding people accountable. and that none of our tax dollars ever get used. Now, it says for the current administration, focus has been on AI for internal government efficiency. We saw 𝗏𝗏. Taxpayer funds have gone towards countering foreign disinformation, not creating domestic ones, right? Claims of censorship. Now, in the past administration under Biden and Harris, similar to Trump, funding went to anti-disinformation efforts, right? The NSF's $66 million for research on online misinformation, after partnering with platforms for moderation. So there's no evidence of bot funding for partisan gain. Efforts like the short-lived Disinformation Governance Board aimed at